Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Neil Kongstrong. I'm just doing a little weekend video to check in on the markets, just hitting the big tickers, not going into a whole lot of detail. But I wanted to just kind of check in since it's been a little while since I did my last video. I was going to start with Bitcoin, and Bitcoin and Ethereum are kind of similar right now. They're kind of in similar states. With Bitcoin, we have this downtrend line that got broken on February 4th. We got this double top pattern, and then we dipped down, and bulls were able to kind of hold this 37,000 level. And now, we got a little bounce off of that, and now we're seeing some pullback. I think that the most likely scenario here is probably going to be sideways action. And the reason I think that is just because we're seeing, overall like a bear trend. But the bears are not super, super strong, even though we've had a couple of really big bear days, like, on January 21st and on December 4th. I'm not super convinced by the bears. I don't feel like they're really that strong right now. Like, with this giant candle, you can see that a lot of that high volume is actually bulls just buying the dip. And then you've got this really big candle, which is probably sort of the most bearish day we've had recently. But then we got this really, really nice bounce. And now also you can see that this downtrend line is acting as support. So we're actually getting a bounce off of that downtrend line. So what I'm thinking is most likely is that we're going to actually see some sideways action here, that we're not going to actually get really clearly break 37,000. If we do, then we'll be looking down to this kind of 35,000 level, and down to this like 32,933 level. And, it's possible we go higher as well. But I think that the most common or the most likely scenario is just to get a little bit of sideways trading for a bit. I don't see the bulls as being quite strong enough to just set higher highs and get an uptrend going, but of course it's possible. And as things unfold, if things are looking more bullish, that might change my tune a little bit. I think, sideways is probably the most likely in my opinion, and bearish would be my the next thing I'd look for, especially if we break this 37,000 level on Bitcoin. And one thing that's kind of notable on Bitcoin is just that on the weekly, this weekly candle that we have going right now that closes in 20 hours, it actually did not, it set a higher high, which is pretty bullish and just notable, something to note. I'm going to move over to Ethereum now. And Ethereum has a little bit of a different situation going on with this downtrend line. We have this downtrend line that's still in play, and while there was a steeper downtrend line, like if we draw a line here, you can see that this steeper line got broken on this February 4th pump, but the shallower line has actually not been broken yet, and it was tested on this double top here. So once again, we've got a level that's similar to what we had on Bitcoin, and for Ethereum, it's this 2570 level, or if you look on the weekly level, it's this 2650 level, is what I think of it as. And basically, even though we technically broke this 2650 level, you can see that like the bears never really got a lot of traction below that, and that these big lower wicks show that the bulls were kind of coming in and buying around that level. So for Ethereum, I'm still thinking that, like Bitcoin, we're probably most likely to see some sideways action. And, that the first thing to watch for is like if we break this 2570 level, that would be kind of the first bearish sign. And then we'd be looking down to this, what is that? 2410, and then down to 2160. And if we go higher, then we're going to want to see how bulls react to this downtrend line, because breaking that downtrend line would be very bullish. But it's also going to be a harder level to break because we've got like such a strongly established downtrend line here. So again, I'm expecting to see sideways. I think downside is the next most likely, and then upside seems least likely to me, but totally not impossible. There's a lot of possibilities here, and I don't see one that is like the clear favorite for me. But yeah, I think based on the strength of bulls and bears right now, I think an equilibrium would make the most sense to me. I was also going to look at magic. So I was kind of noticing a bit of like a rising wedge on magic. I picked magic because I know it's kind of a hot like coin / ecosystem right now. So I just thought I would include something other than, Bitcoin and Ethereum. So the reason that I think this might be a rising wedge is you've got this, if I use the candle bodies to make a trend line, you can see that we get a touch here. We basically get touches here. They're really close. And then we get another touch here. And over here we have a touch here, a touch here, and a touch here using the candle bodies. And essentially what a rising wedge is it's a tightening price range that also has like a directionality. So it's rising, but it's also becoming tighter in terms of the price range. So we actually, here you can see that we broke this lower line, and a rising wedge more often than not breaks bearish. However, we can see that like bears are not getting a lot of follow through yet here. So that could mean that if we, bounce back into this tightening range, then you could consider it kind of a fake out. Like it looked like it might break that range and dump, but if bulls are able to save it, then we're still back in that tightening range, and it could still go either way, up or down. But I would favor sort of a bear move more here. And you can think about it too in terms of the psychology where, there are bulls who are, in an uptrend pushing the price up, but they're sort of having a harder and harder time getting the price up. The range is getting tighter. I sort of think of it as the bulls are having a harder and harder time pushing the price up. So the bears are gaining strength, and that eventually the bears kind of take over and we get a dump. So that's what I think is most likely here, but both outcomes are possible. I don't know what happened with these giant wicks. This is interesting. And then I was going to just look at ES, which is the S&P 500 futures, because, the stock market and the crypto market can be pretty correlated. And this is an interesting one because we got this really big dump here and then a really big bounce. And just like Bitcoin and Ethereum, this is why I'm including this, is that they're all kind of correlated. We got this kind of double top pattern here. And then, pullback, little bounce, big pullback, and now we're getting the sort of big bounce off of that. You can see that on ES, we actually are getting like a lower low here with this big wick down. And if you look at the weekly too, you can see that unlike Bitcoin, SPY has this lower low wick here on the weekly. So in some ways I would say that, ES is actually looking a little more bearish, even though this is a really big bounce. But, we're also seeing this price go way below where it went on this previous dump. Whereas if we look at like Bitcoin on the daily time frame, you can see that we actually went lower here back in January. And now we're actually not going nearly as low on this most recent pullback. So that's notable and kind of, lends some credence to the idea of Bitcoin being a little bit stronger right now. So that's really all I've got. I wanted to keep it kind of simple and quick, hit the major players. I'll try to just keep doing these little videos, just checking on the market when I don't get a lot of specific requests for tickers. If you have requests for tickers, you can always comment on my videos, or you can tweet at me. It's at Neil Kong, NealKong, and I will try to incorporate ticker requests into my videos. Anyways, I hope you guys have an awesome weekend, and I'll see you next time.